This is my presentation on One Superintendent's Journey and View of Education and the Native Peoples of Alaska for Anthropology 242. In this presentation, I will give you a brief introduction to a very good friend of mine, Jacob Jensen, who happens to be a superintendent in the state of Alaska. I will look at the role of the superintendent and his journey as a superintendent, how he started out at Valdez Unified School District, then moved to Lower Kuskokwim School District, and finally his connections and reflections. So let me first introduce you to my friend Jacob. Jacob and I worked together at Palo Verde Unified. He was the director of special education, and I was the director of business. At the end of our tenure together, he moved on to Alaska and became superintendent, and I moved on to other positions in the state of California. He has spent the last 5 years in Alaska in 2 different districts. The role of the superintendent is to be the CEO, or Chief Executive Officer, of a school district. You are the only employee of the Board of Education, which is either made up of 3 to 5 to 7 different elected officials. The Board of Education sets the policy, and the superintendent carries out the day-to-day operations of the district. Requirements to become a superintendent are: be a good communicator. You need to have an understanding of budget, personnel, curriculum, facilities, student needs, and all the different legal ramifications. You also need to be very politically savvy. This is a very political position, even though it is appointed. The reason for this is that the lifespan of a superintendent is anywhere between 2 to 4 years. The reason for this is that the Board of Education that hired you may not be the Board of Education that fires you. As soon as you become a superintendent, you almost start looking for your next job. But in the role of superintendent, it is very lonely at the top. You spend a great deal of time dealing with the care and feeding of the board, which that means is that you have 5 bosses, and you need to make sure that those 5 people who act as one are cognizant of what their role is and what the role of their employee is. When Jacob moved to Alaska, he joined the Valdez Unified School District, which is located in Valdez, Alaska, in the southeastern area, just at the end of the pipeline. This is, according to Jacob, this is the whitest place in Alaska. Most everyone there was a transplant, and that is because they all came to Valdez as part of working on the pipeline. He was there from 2010 to 2013. During his superintendency, he made some major personnel changes. He immediately had to replace 2 principals and brought in some additional district office personnel staff. During his tenure at Valdez, he learned very quickly that the board had a view of wanting change, and then as Jacob implemented change, the board realized we're going a whole lot faster than we were hoping. But that was one of the greatest things that Jacob learned, was to understand and how to work with a board. At the end of his tenure at Valdez, he moved on to the Lower Kuskokwim School District. This school district has its base in Bethel. It is a rural attendance area and has 27 different schools. It is a very large school district, and all of these 27 schools have a school advisory board, which is an elected board and sits as the decision-making body for the school. Each of these small schools within this large school district essentially operate as independent little districts with one superintendent to help guide them. This is a interesting position for a superintendent to be in that they not only have their own school board, which works with them and makes decisions for the entire district, but you then have each local body making decisions with regards to that specific school. And so it becomes a very interesting process. This district is very rural. Most of the way to get to all of these locations is by plane. Even Bethel is considered a rural area, as it is 400 miles from the nearest stoplight, which is located in Anchorage. The Lower Kuskokwim School District is known for its dual language immersion program. This program is based on the work of the Gomez brothers out of White Plains, Texas. Essentially what happens is on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, all instruction is given in English, and on Tuesdays and Thursdays, Yupik is the main language, but that then shifts depending on which grade level you were dealing with. Because in the early grades, you focus on the predominant language, meaning in kindergarten through third grade, Yupik is the main focus because that is the native language of the students. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday would be in Yupik, and Tuesday and Thursday would be in English for kindergarten through third. However, in 4th through 6th, you then switch the focus so that Monday, Wednesday, Friday is English and Tuesday, Thursday is Yupik, so that in 7th grade, a student is fluent in both language. Regardless of which day you're on, math is always taught in English and social studies is always taught in Yupik. This process allows for the culture and the language to become the focus for the school so that students are able to get basically what they need. The reason for this that Jacob has found, and he inherited this program, is that it's very hard to argue in the state of Alaska that geometry is a life skill when needing to know where and how to fish or how to feed your family is actually more important. This falls down on traditional environmental knowledge. And so the role of education in Alaska, at least in Lower Kuskokwim District, is a hard process. Jacob when he first started, his graduation rates were 30%. After 2 years, his graduation rates grew to 38%. He found when he walked in the door that a student could actually be 8 and technically should be in 3rd grade, but because there were no grades given and all that was required to move forward in grades in grade level was that the work be completed, he had 8-year-olds in high school because they were simply completing the work that was required. These processes have now slightly changed under his tutelage, and they're focusing more on the Alaska state standards and understanding that academics do play a role, but it is very hard to have that focus on education when subsistence lifestyles are so important. Money is not a requirement to be able to live in Alaska. Cultural awareness and respect, however, is. And so by working with the local advisory boards and making sure that students are able to coalesce both those pieces of knowledge, Jacob was able to move forward as a superintendent. His reflections as superintendent is that education in Alaska is just different. It's not good or bad, it's just different. The people truly care about culture, and they care about their family and the subsistence way of life. Jacob has actually tendered his resignation due to a family health issue and has now moved back to the state of California. He has looked at his process in Alaska as a great learning experience and one that he will never forget. Thank you.